Hey, in this video, we're going to go over some of the basics of nutrition. Now, this might sound like it's kind of like you're beating the dead horse on this stuff here, but it's a little bit different, all right? So, uh, basically, whenever we meet with clients, our assessments, they kind of in a short, little nutshell, they sound a lot like this. There, I ask them about what their current habits are. Um, I listen to them just talk about how they view nutrition. A lot of times they'll be like, "Oh, you'll probably think I'm terrible for this," or "I had this, and I know you might think it's this," or "I know these things aren't good for me, but I do them anyways." All these things of good and bad, like that you categorize things in different areas, right? Um, when we have these conversations, we start to understand to get a really good view on how someone perceives food and what their lifestyle is like and why how that affects those decisions. Okay, so keep that in a little side pocket there for a second here. All right, so the other part too that I run into a lot of. I would say that one of my biggest competitors that I have is honestly free, quick advice from social media. All right, because you got it from a trustworthy source, from somebody who's nice and ripped, and they said this, and that's a one little piece of information outside of an entire life. All right, and it's based on that one person, right? Some of the other influencers that are getting more science based, they often get into very, very specific things, and it's great information, right? But we're talking about you, the average person that comes in here and says, "Dude, I just want to lose some weight, or I want to change my body composition." So when we're looking at this, we're actually looking at if you are confused at this moment, I should say, and you're unsure of how to get to that point, and don't tell me to sit there and say like, "Oh no, I know what I do. I just have a hard time doing it." If you're stuck in that point, you don't know what to do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it, right? I'll explain that here in a second, because it's a little more complicated than that. All right. So when we look at food and how you interact in the position that you're in, we're really actually talking about the culture that you've been brought up in, your social circle, food allergies or intolerances that you may or may not even know you have. We're talking about how you cope with stress, any traumatic events that you have to deal with that stress, what you've been taught as a kid, what you're accepting right now as truth. All right, your genetics, if you're on any type of medications. There's a ton of different things that pretty much influence how we choose the type of food that we're going to eat. And then based on that, we create like a habit. So essentially, you have trained yourself to be in the position that you are currently in right now. Might be unintentionally, might be intentionally, doesn't matter. Again, we just kind of become creatures of habit and do things. All right. So when we say, "I know what I do, but I just don't do it," what you really are telling me is that you have some kind of knowledge of what would be a better idea versus a worse idea, and you are currently stuck in your pattern and you don't know how to get out of it. Right. So once we have that information, now we can start moving forward because we understand where the barriers are. Once we have that done, we can start moving them around and figuring out plans on how to get past there. So once we have that, next thing that comes up, all I do with clients, once again, is going back into how do you relate to your food, okay? So all of these things that we're told or we soak up and makes us choose the different choices that we do make, they basically kind of create like almost like a personality of its own, right? So based on how you experience food, meaning it's one of the most intimate things that you're ever going to do. You look at something, you put it into your mouth, you chew on it, and you look at whatever it is, and it creates an experience. You either like it, you don't like it, you're indifferent about it, it's whatever. I got to get something in me. So it creates this experience, right? You swallow it, it goes into your gut, your body starts to digest it and breaks down all that stuff, and it creates another experience in your body, right? And these are the ones that you may or may not even know are actually happening into you. So, for example, if you're very sluggish throughout the day, it could be because we're not really putting the right foods in. We're kind of gunking up your gut, right? If you have like I said, an allergy or intolerance, again, it's mild and you're not really sure, you can still be inflaming your intestines. When those are done, we can't absorb all the food that we're eating to the quantities that we like, and it kind of affects things differently. This also goes into your immune system, into your mental health, the depression, your energy levels, your sleep, all of these major components that kind of point you in the right direction how you're going to operate throughout the day. So once we have that, then we start to think about so if we're kind of sluggish, I'm just using a broad example, then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I need a caffeine boost. And that might be coffee, tea, energy drinks, whatever it might be, just to get through the day. Now that we've tanked our system, we have a kind of a gunked up habit. We go home, We grab whatever we can because we're starving, we're exhausted, and then, after dinner, you're kicking it, you're trying to relax because this is your time, and then you go through, and there might be a nightly ritual which helps you cope with stress. Might be snacking, might be hanging out, might be mindless eating, or even worse, you're going to something like that and you're kicking yourself in the butt and in the head or whatever, wherever you like to kick yourself when you feel guilty. And then this creates a pattern of negativity. All right. So I've just spent the past 5 minutes talking about just how people perceive the food and the kind of experience does. Right. So now hopefully you can understand that this is a little more complicated than just eat chicken and broccoli and no carbs or whatever it is. Right. Because again, once you understand those barriers and how this works, then you have a shot at actually making this into a sustainable program. All right. So once we have that done, the very next thing we go through, unfortunately, I can't tell you specifics because, again, this part right here goes once again into perception, how we do things. The next thing goes into your personal build, your body fat content, how much muscle you have on you, how active you are throughout your day without working out, and then how active you are during your workouts, what time of training or working out you're doing. All right. Now that we have that, the way we want to eat is don't think of it as good and bad. You want to think of it as, is this conducive for my goal? So I have fantastic questions coming from clients all the time. Today, I had one ask me, is a bowl of fruit bad? And I was like, I have no idea. I mean, a bowl of fruit has never tried to rob me before, or a bowl of fruit has never gone through and held me at gunpoint to take, and told me to dance or do something embarrassing or try to demoralize me in some way and make me do crazy things, right? It's a bowl of fruit. It's just, that's what it is, right? That kind of question is out of context. All right. So I kind of flipped it back on this client and I was like, it's not whether or not, if you go from bowl of fruit is good or bad. Yes, it does have a lot of sugar in it, which is fine. Fruit has that. It also has a lot of fiber, which kind of puts a brake pedal on there. Fruit isn't bad. It's known as being healthy. It's got lots of vitamins in it. It's got some good carbohydrates in it. Well, I don't understand what does that mean? But what we went through is we said, is a bowl of fruit conducive to your goal by itself? Obviously, she is working on some of the fundamentals. So right now we're working on trying to get our protein in us, our vegetables in us, the correct amount of carbohydrates, and a little bit of fats, right? So I was like, when we eat, these are the things that we want to look at because, again, we're laying the foundation. So a bowl of fruit doesn't fit all those things. We're prioritizing right now our protein and our vegetables to make sure we're keeping ourselves full, and then allowing ourselves to have carbohydrates, the right amounts, to be able to fuel the rest of the day, make sure she's still sharp, she has energy throughout the day to work out and do her job, all that kind of stuff. So that question now became, is not a bowl of fruit good or bad? It was like, how much should I actually have according to her specifics, body type, and her goal? All right. And then it was like, okay, cool. Now we know what to do with this bowl of fruit. All right. So when we have this plan now, again, it's not if things good or bad. Are carbs bad? Is anything that I had to go and get? That pizza was the only option. It's not good or bad. It's a way we want to find a way to control things. Okay. And there's a lot of gray area on this, but the nice thing is that when you start following the plan and the specifics and the techniques on how to deal with nutrition, you are now in control, not the guru on YouTube, not what you heard in science class, not what your macros say or anything like this. Because again, very, very few people really want to sit there and count out their macros and everything. You just want to eat. You want to be lean, healthy, happy, and enjoy your happy hour still, or your wings and pizza, whatever it is, right? So the best way we do this is sit down and we go through a tool that we have. I usually take clients through, and then they have the data that they need, and then that's when the practice starts. When we start this practice, this is when we go through and they start doing all kinds of discoveries. Hey, I've lost a lot of weight from doing this. I notice I'm stuck here at this point. I notice I'm building more muscle, but I'm not dropping fat. I notice I'm losing fat and building muscle. All right, I have more energy. I don't like these foods. I'm noticing without these foods, I feel better. All of these things come up, right? It's never an instant thing. If you're getting an instant thing, it's a system most likely that you might need it, which is great. But we're talking about longevity here. The moment you don't have it, typically what happens, we fall back on the patterns that they're used to doing. And again, if it's based on a do or don't system, you're now stuck between your emotions and your influences and being like, can I have this or cannot have this? And then potentially, I'm not saying this is exactly, but potentially you might run into some of that negativity, and we want to get away from that. All right. So that's kind of the plan. If you have any interest at all about finding a little bit more on this, again, I can't do this because it's based on so many different things. Hit me up. I am currently doing some assessments right now, and I'm looking to help out a couple more people here. So I have limited availability, but hit me up. Let me know. I'd love to help you out regardless. Hopefully clear up some questions for you, and maybe we can actually open up that conversation to get you moving forward once again. So remember, keep doing your best. Food's not good or bad. Just accept things as they come along, and you'll be just fine. Just keep moving forward. Peace.